Do I still believe that XDC could hypothetically go to the price of $3 during this bull run? Absolutely. And even though that's not financial advice, here's my rationale. As we all know, the XDC network is an enterprise-grade blockchain that is purpose-built for global trade and finance. Now, when I say this, a lot of people, they often cringe. They often say that, oh man, this market, it's way too oversaturated, right? They think that there's going to be no future for something like XDC. But I completely disagree with that, because even despite people saying that, oh yeah, Ripple, is going to dominate the space, XLM, I think that this market is so massive to the point that it doesn't even really matter if there is like even 100 good competitors. I still think there is a bright future ahead for XDC. And let me explain why. We take a look at, according to Mordor Intelligence, the global trade and finance market is expected to reach $5 trillion by 2028. So that's a massive market right there. Now, again, people may think that, okay, there's too many competitors, but when a market is predicted to be that massive in such a relatively short amount of time, I do believe there's going to be room for a lot of the good players to eat. What do I mean by this? Let's take a real life example. For instance, you take a look at car brands, right? There's Tesla, there's Volvo, there's just a bunch of car brands out there. But for instance, does Volvo have like 90% market share? Absolutely not. But it doesn't matter, because the car market, again, is so massive to the point that even just having a couple percent market share, that's already more than enough in some cases. We see Volvo being able to hire tens upon thousands of employees. So clearly, in my opinion, it's doing very successful. And again, when it comes to XDC, it doesn't really need to dominate this space. Again, global trade and finance, because it's predicted to be so massive, the market is so large, that it doesn't really need a dominating market share. Now, would that be awesome? Of course. Who wouldn't want a large market share when it comes to anything, right? Let's say when a project is focused on a market, but it doesn't really need it in order to be considered a quote-unquote success, at least in my opinion. Now, oftentimes people like to say that, oh yeah, this market is done for because there's AI projects, NFT projects, blockchain gaming projects. But in my opinion, in the world of cryptocurrencies, people often move in trends. So each market, quite essentially, typically has their own specific time to shine, because people, they like NFT projects, they move on to DeFi projects, they like meme coins, they like AI projects. And we're already seeing many global trade and finance orientated projects, I would say, do well. But I think that as the bull run continues, as we go into 2025, as the sentiment improves, I think there could be such a big narrative when it comes to these projects, much like XDC. And I think better days are ahead. We've seen XRP do well. We've seen XLM. And I think it's only fair to assume that XDC does become one of the next big players when it comes to the finance space in the world of cryptocurrencies, in my opinion. Now, also, let's take into consideration that it does utilize the SynFin delegated proof of stake consensus mechanism. Again, I'm talking about the XDC network, and its network is powered by the XDC protocol. Now, why do I have to mention this? It's because the XDC protocol, I think, is very special. First of all, it has the ability to be integrated with internal legacy systems, such as, for instance, Swift payment databases. I'm not talking about a Taylor Swift concert. I'm not talking about that type of Swift. I'm talking about Swift in terms of banking. If anyone, has seen Swift in the world of banking, I think they'll know just how big of a deal this is. Not to mention, it has the ability to integrate data into the blockchain using something called the ISO 20022 Electronic Data Interchange Standard. The reason why this is so fantastic is because this does play to the whole vibe of global trade and finance, because, again, ISO 20022 is currently being used by many financial institutions all around the world for inter-organizational data exchange. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this is kind of boring, this is kind of caca, but in my opinion, this is very important and very amazing. So the fact that, again, something like this can integrate data into the blockchain using that's a big round of applause for me. That right there showcases just how special this project is. It's not going to be a project that's going to disappear when the fans or hype are gone, because clearly that isn't the vibe here. This actually has a good long-term use case, and it's actually trying to solve problems in real life. It's not focused on some random caca nonsense. That's not the case whatsoever. It's actually a serious project. And now, the XDC network does also have amazing beneficial qualities, such as, for instance, it has the ability to facilitate over 2,000 transactions per second. So, yeah, that's insane. When people think about a good and amazing project, usually what are three categories they look for? Good fundamentals, focus on the right market, and also on top of that, a very strong and passionate community. And this is exactly what I'm seeing here. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I can only speak on my behalf. But even though I'm bullish on meme coins, even though I'm bullish on some quote-unquote fun projects, I do believe that XDC needs to be one of my foundational pieces in my portfolio, because instead of having a Bitcoin or an Ethereum where it's just really boring and quite frankly, the room for growth is really not all that great in my opinion, I'd much rather choose something like XDC, because keep in mind, XDC going to the price of $3, that right there is around a 40x from here. So considering how much XDC is bumped, doing let's say an additional 40x doesn't seem so bad. And now oftentimes people are panicking about the slight pullback, but who cares? If they've been through the moments when, let's say 2023, beginning of 2024, I think they'll understand what I mean, how this is kind of peanuts in the grand scheme of things. People are oftentimes stuck under this vicious cycle. They buy when things are pumping and then they panic sell when things are dumping. Where's the longevity in that? I've been believing in XDC for years at this point, and what have I been doing throughout the whole time? That's dollar cost averaging. So anytime an income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, that's it. No day trading, no using leverage, no swing trading. And keep in mind, XDC going to the price of $3, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $45 billion. That's like peanuts. I mean, really, take a look at BNB reaching over $100 billion. I mean, come on, BNB isn't this dynamic. Just even take a look at the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem. Even according to Crypto.com research, just last year, in 2023, well, we're so close to 2025, but I'm going to still mention this anyways. Back in 2023, again, slightly over 2% of the entire crypto hacks that happened, again, according to Crypto.com research, actually occurred on the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem. That's a very high figure in my opinion. Slightly over 2%. I mean, are you kidding me? I think this figure should at least be below 0.5%. I think this is just way too high. Anything over 0.5%, I think is just complete caca. So when I take a look at something like BNB, being able to reach over $100 billion in market cap, with, I think, fundamentals not being that dynamic, and not to mention, back in 2021 when it reached that, it's not like the crypto space is as poppin' as it is as of right now, so to speak, because you take a look at how even back then, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly only around 300 million crypto owners. Now, again, according to Crypto.com research, there's over 600 million. So I think the amount of FOMO, buying pressure, and buying volume we saw back then could very well be amplified in such a fantastic way this time around. But I think there are better days ahead, because I think 2025 is going to be the time to shine. And even historically speaking, this could very well be the case, because usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they've been known to peak around a year and a half after a Bitcoin halving event. If we consider how the Bitcoin halving event happened back in April, again, as a worst case based off of history, a year and a half would actually be around October of 2025. So I still think there's time to really showcase what XDC is capable of. And I think growth could very well be exponential beyond the price of $1. Now, what do I mean by this? Take a look at ADA, Cardano's native token. At one point, believe it or not, price was hovering around 3 cents. Going to the price of $1, at least to me, that seemed very difficult for ADA. But then going to the price of $2 and $3 felt very easy, because I think after it reached $1, it gave this confirmation for a lot of people to really believe in Cardano. So when it comes to XDC, I don't see why it would be any different. Again, I think reaching $1 may be a little bit of a struggle, but beyond that, I think could be so amazing. And again, $3 during this bull run really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I'm that bullish on XDC, and I think this bull run could be that special, but it's just a waiting game. Imagine once Bitcoin goes to the price of 200,000, maybe 250,000, and maybe even beyond. Man, that's time to go to Sizzler right there, because at that point, XDC at the price of $3 during this bull run, I don't see why not. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.